How did ancient humans survive temperatures that would send a modern person straight to the hospital with no air conditioning, no fridges, no bottled water? Thousands of years ago, prehistoric Europe wasn't always cold. Long stretches of the Holocene brought brutal heat waves, droughts that dried up rivers, summers that turned forests into tinderboxes, and heat that killed the weak, the old, and the very young first. To survive, our ancestors didn't just adapt. They did things that would horrify us today. This is the darkest side of humanity's fight against the heat. Before we get to the survival tactics, you need to understand the threat. Unlike a cold snap, a heat wave doesn't announce itself with snow or frost. It creeps in. Water sources dry up first. Then the crops fail. Then the animals, the ones early Europeans depended on for meat, milk, and hides, start to die or migrate away, sometimes hundreds of kilometers, taking the only food source with them. Archaeological sites from warm interglacial periods show mass die-offs of large game near shrinking waterholes, meaning humans and predators were forced into brutal competition for the same shrinking puddle of water. There was no relief, no shade you didn't build yourself, no water you didn't find, dig, or fight for. One of the most dramatic adaptations, early humans in hot, arid parts of Europe and the Mediterranean basin shifted their entire lives into darkness. Daytime activity became a death sentence. Instead, communities hunted, traveled, and gathered at dawn, dusk, and under moonlight, resting through the punishing midday sun in dugout shelters, caves, or shaded pits. This wasn't a lifestyle choice. It was forced nocturnalism, reshaping the human body clock around survival, not comfort. With no roofs, no walls thick enough to block the sun, ancient Europeans turned to the one thing that never got hot: the ground. Semi-subterranean dwellings, pits dug meters into the earth and covered with branches, hides, or turf, kept interiors dramatically cooler than the surface above. Some settlements pushed this further, carving out entire underground networks to escape not just heat, but the psychological toll of an inescapable sun. Living underground for weeks at a time came with its own darkness, damp air, disease, and the mental strain of near-total darkness for the sake of survival. When water is scarce, survival stops being about comfort and becomes about ruthless prioritization. Evidence from drought-stressed prehistoric communities suggests water was rationed along brutal lines, warriors and hunters first, so the group could still defend itself and find more. Children and the elderly last because they consumed water without producing more of it. In the worst droughts, some groups made a choice no one wants to imagine, abandoning the weakest members who could no longer keep pace so the rest of the group could reach the next water source alive. When rivers vanished and waterholes turned to cracked mud, ancient humans didn't simply give up. They extracted moisture from anything that had it. Animal blood was drunk fresh from freshly killed prey. Bone marrow, rich in fat and moisture, was cracked open and consumed raw. Even the stomach contents of herbivores, partially digested plant matter soaked in fluid, were reportedly used by later hunter-gatherer groups as an emergency hydration source when nothing else remained. It wasn't appetizing. It was the difference between living and dying of thirst. In the driest years, wildfires didn't just threaten ancient settlements, they were sometimes started deliberately. Controlled burning cleared dry, flammable vegetation before it could ignite into an uncontrollable inferno near camps, and it flushed out fleeing animals that could be hunted for food and moisture-rich meat in one motion. The tactic worked, but it meant deliberately setting fire to the same drought-stricken land they depended on. Gambling that controlled destruction was safer than the fire that would come on its own. Every one of these choices, abandoning the weak, drinking blood, burning the land, living buried in the earth, wasn't cruelty for its own sake. It was the brutal math of survival in a world with no safety net. Modern heat waves kill thousands every year, even with air conditioning, hospitals, and clean water on tap. Our ancestors faced the same sun with none of that, and somehow, some of them made it through. If you found this as unsettling as I did researching it, hit subscribe because next time we're covering the darkest survival tactics humans used against famine.